Welcome. It's Christian and I back from Allen Park. I was at Detroit Lions practice. I'm the doc. John Macaroon, Christian Boer is here as well. He got to see a glimpse as well via my text what was going on. And we're going to break down just a little bit over the next 30 to 45 minutes what I saw. If you're in the comments, thank you so much for hopping in. Feel free, ask questions. We'll take comments and questions here and we'll showcase it to the audience. Thank you guys so much. Hit that notification. We are live on YouTube. Please subscribe, tell others. We are enjoying the opportunity to broadcast live across different platforms. It's been fun. The response over the last couple of days has been really interesting and intriguing to see the response that people want to see my just reactions to highlights that are showcased out there at the Detroit Lions. But today, it was great to be out there. I was there, boots on the ground, really getting there, an opportunity to see practice, hour and a half out there at Allen Park. And look, it's interesting. It's intriguing when you see this football team, Christian. It's a football team that the first thing that Dan Campbell talked about, and we're going to start with our early takeaways, is what Dan Campbell had to say. I felt like one of the early takeaways and what he said that was intriguing was, look, this schedule is daunting, but it should provide an opportunity for motivation. They're going to use the national hate. They're going to use the outsiders, those outside of Detroit. And as a reminder, Christian and I are local guys that broadcast and cover the Detroit Lions from the fine, great state of Michigan. We have no allegiances to any teams outside of the Metro Detroit area. And you look at the Detroit Lions football team, and I thought Dan Campbell handled that question pretty well. I thought one of the first things that he was asked about is, look, that schedule is kind of tough. What's your reaction to those that say you lost your coordinators, you lost, a little bit of, talent in regards to losing to Darius Smith. There's going to be changes, overhauls. But he said, look, we're in May. We're not even at June yet. And he looked at it and he indicated this schedule, if it plays right, we use it correctly, should allow for some silver linings when it comes time. If they earn a spot in the postseason, they should be battle tested.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at that slate that they have, it is not going to be easy. I mean, you start right away going to Lambeau Field in week 1. A couple weeks later, you're in Baltimore in week 3, Cincinnati, like all these different road trips they're going to have to make, Kansas City in prime time, and then the back-to-back with the two teams from the NFC East in Washington and Philadelphia. And he's spot on. They are going to be battle tested one way or another. And we're going to find out whether or not this team is built to last when it comes to the postseason. Because if they go on the road and they start picking these teams off and win some of these road games against really good competition, then it's going to be really hard to look at them amidst the NFC and say they're not the biggest contender to go to the Super Bowl, because they're going to play a lot of the best teams in the NFL. So it's going to be really exciting. Another interesting point that I took away from his press conference today was the life is good comment, referring to the contract situations. And they've got two players that he did not explicitly name, but kind of using context clues, we can kind of figure out who he may have been talking about. But it doesn't seem like there's any concern in terms of long-term ramifications for guys who are not present at OTAs today. Guys like Alex Anzalone wasn't there. Frank Ragnow wasn't there. And like I said, he did not explicitly say who he was referring to with the two guys who haven't been there. But it sounds like the two who haven't been there have been communicating throughout their absence, and it doesn't seem like the Lions are overly concerned about those situations. So that's another thing to keep tabs on, and we've talked about Anzalone's contract situation. Obviously, Ragnow being a veteran is another guy to keep an eye on. Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't participate today. So these are all guys that, first, it's voluntary, so there's nothing saying they have to be there by any means, but they're also guys that the Lions have trust in and guys that they can count on to be there when things start to ramp up for training camp and things of that nature. So I was really interested in his comment about, hey, life is good over here, man. Like, we're stable, things are fine. And so it doesn't seem like there's a lot of stress going on there, even amidst all this different like contract type stuff going on. So credit to them for handling all that internally and doing so without having a bunch of drama get out with guys holding out and things of that nature.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought that Dan Campbell looked confident, presented himself to say, look, even though we got a different coaching staff, even though, there are going to be changes, but the talent level on this football team, you just look at it and you say, my goodness. But I was a little bit disappointed. I was, because of the fact that, lots of players were out. He rattled off a list, and it was so long that he even included a joke, which was funny. He said Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders are not going to be there, but he just rattled off names that I wanted to see. Terry and Arnold, Broderick Martin. It's just rookies as well. You said to yourself, man, there was so much I wanted to see on this Friday. We were all amped, but it's a Friday. They were at the tail end of their third day. But look, it's one of those deals where the players that we did get to see, you still got a lot of value from seeing rookies. Ahmad Hassanin, you got to see really opportunities for young players to go out there, got to see really players that like Isaac Ukwu, got to see Marcus Davenport, Aiden Hutchinson. So while there were a lot of players out, there were still a lot of players that we got a chance to evaluate. We're going to talk about them. And listen, if you're in the chat, ask questions. We'll get to as many as humanly possible. Like what you're hearing. This helps to keep pushing the Lone Wolves podcast to many more people. We appreciate your early support. Christian, we reached 2,000 subscribers in like 2-3 months. It's amazing, the support. I appreciate Spaceship Earth. Let's go, Doc, right away. Please feel free. Let's go, Christian, as well. He is carrying the load just as much as I am, and he's willing to fire it up and available just as much as me. And he's a welcomed addition for the podcast, a true equal co-host in the Detroit Lions Lone Wolves podcast. Fire it up. Anything you want asked, we'll try and get to as many as humanly possible, and we'll spread the message. Get your name out there via the videos. These videos get spread all over the internet. But did it bug you at all? Any player on that list? Jack Campbell, we still got to see in person, just limited. Got to see him work out, had a chance to talk to him in the media session, which is great. I did ask Jack Campbell directly about Alex Anzalone. We'll get to that as well. Your thoughts on just having like 20, 21 guys not there? It was a little bit of deflating for me, but at the same token, I still think the guys that we got to evaluate still very much worthwhile.
Yeah, I was very eager to hear about some of the rookies. The biggest one being Isaac Tesla in his opportunity to what would have been go up against guys like DJ Reader. It wound up being Ennis Rakestraw opposite of him, according to what I've been able to gather as well. So I would have loved to have heard about how that would have went, particularly if he was playing on the outside, because that seems like that's the direction they want to go with him. Brian Branch is another one who it would have been nice to hear about being out there. Jack Campbell, like you mentioned, this is an opportunity for Jack Campbell with Alex Anzalone not being there to potentially get more reps as being the guy defensively. And obviously after practice, you learn about the fact that he had a little procedure done. And so that was kind of the reason why he was limited. But this is an opportunity for a guy like him to, when Rodriguez is sidelined and Alex Anzalone's not there and Barnes is sidelined, like this would have been a prime opportunity for somebody like him to continue to stack more reps. And I know he did it for 6 games, I think it was, when Anzalone was out. But, just even more reps heading into his third year, that would have been a good one for him as well. And then like you mentioned TA, he's another one. It ended up being Rakestraw out there on the boundary, but TA is another guy that just benefit from reps. Like he was thrown into the fire and had to do quite a bit for the defense last year. And so this offseason stuff is pivotal for guys like him if he really wants to take that next step towards being a guy for them in the secondary, being a shutdown guy. So, again, OTAs, voluntary. The Lions have a habit of being extra precautious about different injuries, soft tissue type of things, and they're not going to put too much on their guys too early. So not super surprised by it, but at the same time, a little bummed out.
Okay, real fast here. A couple comments that we got about Jamarco Jones. I'll say this, just did not stand out to me. I was looking for other guys, but this is Friday. We'll be back one more time. I'll have an opportunity to go out there again, and I will pay attention to the offensive linemen specifically. But we're going to talk about the second and third team offensive line units. It was trouble in paradise today, at least. But that was partly due to the fact that Kelvin Shepard was bringing the heat. He was wanting to see what these guys would do flying in there. And it was intriguing to see what the defense and how the offensive line adjusted. So, yeah, I was, a little bit disappointed. Obviously wanted to see Isaac Tesla You wanted to see him out there participating, getting some touches, but it was good to see Lovett out there. Good to see him moving around and getting some work as well. Tesla was there. We got to lay eyes on him, but he was working off to the side. Did not get a chance to see him out there catching balls from Jared Goff or Hendon Hooker. So it's unfortunate. I would have liked to have seen him out there. He was a prime guy, a prime target. And Spaceship Earth, we're going to get to your question here a little bit later. For sure, we're going to talk about what we saw. But you mentioned it. You brought it up. Jack Campbell has an offseason hip procedure. Many people were a little bit alerted, like, wait a minute, Jack Campbell was on the list. And Dan Campbell did say, mostly it's a lot of precautionary issues. So no issues. He would not have talked to the media if he was not going to be a member of training camp. But Jack Campbell had an offseason hip procedure. And for the veteran linebacker, you still got to see him do a little bit of work, got to see him out there a little bit, but not a full participant in team activities. We got to see him a little bit in individual drills, working out a little bit. So he was limited. He was out there, took questions from the media. I had asked Jack, he took a lot of questions about, working with Calvin and having his former position coach be now his defensive coordinator. It was interesting because Jack Campbell is going to be a guy now at the forefront, a leader of this defense. And I do expect him to become a prototypical top 8 graded linebacker at PFF. I think he's working his way up the top 15 into the top 10, kind of on the outskirts, 9th, 10th, 11th graded in terms of the season that he had. But I thought he had a great 2024 season. And so I think Jack Campbell will be a focal point at training camp to see how he plays as well. But I had asked Jack Campbell about Alex Anzalone. He did hint that, okay, it's a matter. There's a matter going on between Alex Anzalone and the Detroit Lions, and that matter is the contract. Clearly, it's not out of bounds to say that Alex would welcome a new contract. And maybe there's discussions, maybe it would appear, and this is speculation, not fact or based on any intelligence that I've sought out, but you would probably look at it, Christian, am I wrong, when we look at Alex Anzalone, we're going to talk about Jack Campbell here and what you expect from him this year, that they're probably waiting to see how much Aiden is kind of wanting to take from the bank, right? You have a bill due, right? You have some bills and you have a contract looming that you said maybe could start at $37.5 million per year, might hit $40 million a year. So with that said, you want to wait and see, does Aiden's camp or does Trey Hendrickson come first? They maybe want to wait and see where that slots in. Maybe Aiden's also waiting for Trey to see where he slots, because if Trey gets north of 40, you don't want to undercut it. And so then the Lions have to sit back and wait, and they have to also allocate, okay, if Aiden's going to take, more than Trey Hendrickson, which I don't think he'll get more than $40 million, then you got to kind of recognize, that what's left over has to be allocated and determined for others as well. So I do think that there's some allocation of funds that are being explored with Alex Anzalone. But Jack Campbell talked about it honestly, openly. They've been in contact. He supports his teammate, and clearly all players support other players in their contract disputes.
Absolutely. I think you're spot on with the whole Aiden thing. I think that his contract is going to set the tone for what they're able to do or not do in 2026 and beyond. Like, they do have the 5th-year option, which will take care of his 2026 season. But in terms of down the road, if Anzalone wants a contract with, upward to like 10 million, little more, like, these are all going to be tough decisions the Lions are going to have to make. And I do think that Anzalone is very deserving of a new contract and a raise from the AAV on his previous contract. But I do think that these are going to be tough decisions the Lions are going to have to make. And I think that eventually that linebacker room, you're going to have to start making some tough calls, because you've got Jack Campbell, who's entering his 3rd year, which means you're going to have to make the 5th-year option decision on him next year. That's not going to be an easy price tag with how they equate the 5th-year option. I mean, we saw it with the Baltimore Ravens, if I'm not mistaken. They ended up not picking up the 5th-year option on their center because it would have made him like the top 3 highest paid center in the league. And these are just decisions you're going to have to make. But the point I'm trying to make is you've got him coming up. You've got Malcolm Rodriguez entering the last year of his rookie deal. You don't get the 5th-year option with Malcolm. Obviously, Anzalone in the last year of his current deal, and then all these guys at the back end who you have on 1-year deals. So you're going to have to make some tough calls. And I like I said, Anzalone is without a doubt like the heartbeat of the defense right now. He's the multi-year captain. He's deserving of a new contract. He probably wants to stay in Detroit, but he's also not going to sacrifice what he could probably make somewhere else. Because other teams will see him as a guy that can not only come in and produce, but set the tone for your culture. I mean, if he is to hit the open market, let's say in a year, who's to say Aaron Glenn's not going to go up there and give him what he wants and have him come out and be a New York Jet, things of that nature. So it is a tough call for them right now. And I'm very interested to see how it all plays out. But I do think that there's a future where this decision's not made by the time training camp rolls around, and we'll see whether or not he's a guy that would be one to show up and play it out, kind of like how Taylor Decker did last year, or if he wants to hold out and he's well within his rights to do that, and try to get what he thinks he's worth. So, Anzalone, huge part of this defense, and this is kind of taking its place among the top storylines facing the Lions ahead of training camp here so far.
To Kerry's point, if it does extend, if there is maybe a holdout at training camp, which I would not expect based on Anzalone's track record, would there be a fall off in the linebackers unit with Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Trevor Nowatzki, and others manning the ship there? Would there be a drastic fall off without Alex this year?
Well, I mean, I think we got to see what the defense is like without Alex last season when he missed that chunk of time with a forearm injury. And yeah, there was a little bit of a dip there. I think that the energy he brought in his return, maybe it wasn't something we were paying as much attention to while he was gone, but it was clear when he came back, just the new life it gave the defense. And so, yeah, if he's not there, that's going to be missing for sure. I think that if that's the case, and I'm saying if, like you said, I don't really expect based on his nature that he would be one to necessarily hold out. But I do think that if he's not there, you're going to have to see Jack Campbell start to take these big steps forward. And he did do a pretty good job when Anzalone was out of taking over the reins of the defense. But, again, if you're going into training camp where all this stuff is like magnified and he's going to be in the spotlight. He's going to be in the spotlight. Absolutely. So that's something that'll be very interesting. Obviously they're better with him than without him. And you're putting pressure on guys like Trevor Nowatzki, like you mentioned, and Zeke Turner and Grant Stewart. Somebody's going to have to step up and fill that void because Malcolm Rodriguez, probably with his knee injury coming on Thanksgiving last year, who knows if he's going to be ready to go by the time training camp comes around, with those ACL injuries. So again, like with him, they're better. Without him, there is going to be a little bit of a drop off. I'm just not sold on the fact that it's going to be like this massive dip because they were able to kind of steady the load a little bit. Then again, they did have to plug in pieces and guys like Quan Alexander, and they're looking all over. So, I mean, like I said, this is a much better defense when they have him versus when they don't. And so if I'm the Lions, this is a priority. But again, with all these financials decisions they have to make, like I just don't think this is a super easy fix because he deserves to get what he's worth. And at the same time, you're also trying to pay Hutchinson and J-Mo and all these guys. So we'll see how it all plays out, man. It is kind of a conundrum they're facing right now.
Okay, and so let's start with what I saw. And starting with the linebackers, Grant Stewart is a pest. I like it. If you guys are hockey fans out there, Red Wings fans, if there's any of you left, right? I don't want to lose the audience talk about hockey, but man, Steve Yzerman could take a little bit of a class from Brad Holmes here about getting some talent. And so Grant Stewart, little ball of hate. And you recognize that, my goodness, it's an OTA practice. He gets in there, and Kelvin Shepard was sending the guys. One of the first takeaways you saw was the defense was getting after it. They were trying to test the first string, second string, third string offensive line units. And in one rep, Grant Stewart was not slowing down. And there's a visual that I got to see from the sideline of Jared Goff trying to push back Grant Stewart. Let me tell you guys, Jared Goff, he's not unwilling to get in there and mix it up. He was pushing back on Grant Stewart a little bit, and Grant Stewart was like a pit bull trying to get back at keep the rep going. And so that's what you want in a linebacker. I think I can see why the Detroit Lions coaching staff and Dan Campbell in particular are like, yeah, get that guy. Guy's a pit bull. In an OTA rep, he's out there, and Jared Goff is pushing him back like, hey, like relax a little bit here. You're not going to get after our running backs. You're not going to get after our guys. The rep's over. Settle it down. And I'll say this. It's easier because Jared Goff is probably a good, 5 inches taller than Grant Stewart. But Grant Stewart was not messing around. He was ferocious, and he brought the intensity. And so it's good to see a player of his caliber working that hard and getting ready, getting after it. So let's talk about what I saw. You can check out the full details of what happened right now. Lions on SI. You can pull it along as we kind of go through it. We'll talk about Aiden Hutchinson. We'll talk about what we saw from the offensive units there, and we'll talk about some key takeaways. But one of the first things that you saw was the defensive line and the defense was getting after it. They were getting into the backfield, and most notably, the second and third units were the units that were most impacted. Okay, so I got to say this, and I don't want to like alarm people, but I did not feel as if Hendon Hooker had the best practice out there. Now it's OTAs, it's Friday, it's a bunch of mess going on. But one of my first takeaways was I didn't feel like I saw a progression from Hendon Hooker. There were still balls that were wobbly. He was still holding on to the ball a little bit too long. I did not feel like commanded what you need from an offense in the second unit. I felt like he didn't have a signature throw. Clearly when there's no defensive backs, he has crisp throws and a little bit better accuracy. But I did not feel in team periods and in 7-on-7 that there were opportunities where you say, wow, that was just something that makes you go, well, man, he's ready. But again, it's only day one of the first week of OTAs. There's still a whole camp to go, but it feels like he's got a lot of work to do to get on the same page. And there's probably reasons why, because of the fact it's a hodgepodge of players, different talent along the offensive line. You have a defensive line, a new defensive coordinator that's bringing the pressure, trying to cause confusion. So one thing, I was not impressed with Hendon Hooker. I don't think you're going to see a lot of praise in the reports that are out there. Please read all the other reports too, because I'm one person out there, one set of eyes looking at both sides. And there's a lot of other sites too with multiple visions and different opinions as well. But that's one thing I saw. Second thing, the offensive line units, we got a chance to kind of see a little bit. And so I can't say like, okay, I'm not going to go, here's first line. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to use hypotheticals. And I think the audience is smart enough to draw upon what was said and done. But Christian, how would you feel, first and foremost, about this starting offensive line? It would be, at this point, Taylor Decker. You would have Christian Mahogany on the left side. You would have Frank Ragnow at center. You would have Tate Ratledge on the right, and potentially Penei Sewell on the right side. What would you think about that offensive line?
I mean, I'm with it. I think that Graham Glasgow's got to go out there and earn it again after taking a step back last year. But again, like Ratledge's versatility that they seem to be kind of unlocking with him is very interesting to me. Like, reading the reports from today, both from yourself and some of the other outlets checking it out, it looks like he spent quite a bit of time at center today. Obviously, Ragnow not being there kind of throws a wrench in things. But, I mean, I know there's no contact, and so there's probably not a whole lot you can take away from that. But at least just in kind of your opinion, how did he look playing center this year, today, Tate Ratledge? Did you think that he, commands it in a way? I mean, there's a lot they ask, right? He's making calls at the line of scrimmage and things like that. Just what do you get the sense when it comes to his comfort level? Where do you think he's at with that position? And do you think that if Ragnow were to ever miss time, that could be a direction they go?
Yeah, no, look, I do think Christian Mahogany probably naturally slated for left guard. I do think they want to cross-train Ratledge. They realize that Frank Ragnow, might not be available for certain parts of training camp, or there's going to be a lot of days where Frank gets off. He's at that point in his career where he's ready-made. He knows the offense. He understands everything. And if he is a guy that's also looking for a revamped deal or not part of OTAs just due to his health or whatever reasons he's not there, then you got a guy. He sticks out. Tate Ratledge is a monster, and he sticks out as a guy that can push the offensive line, the defensive line back. He can gain leverage pretty quickly. It's going to be hard to bull rush a Tate Ratledge. And so it was intriguing to see. Also, we saw Colby Sorsdahl out there as well at center. It's a little bit surprising being that, he's a player that naturally slated on the outside, but just hasn't found a spot. Guard maybe hasn't been exactly his forte. And I just think they're trying anything to see what he can bring to the table. So I do want to have another takeaway. Manu looked okay. He was out there manning the left tackle spot at certain points, I think on the second unit, and he held his own. He looked like, when there was a bull rush, he had his footwork. He was upright. He did not get out leveraged too many times. I felt like Manu looked like he learned from some of those camps that he did out in Arizona and working with, I think, Taylor Decker. Clearly, when he's watching Taylor, he's going to see a lot of good things. So I do think that, okay, we can kind of put it to bed I don't think he's going to play guard. I think that you have a lot of competition with, Mahogany and Dan Skipper and Tate Ratledge and Miles Frazier, the guard spot's kind of full, in my opinion, at this point in time. I do think that Manu can be the swing tackle, and in a rotation, if something happens to Taylor Decker. What do you expect from Manu this year? Because I like what I saw. I thought he showed good strength. He anchored pretty quickly, and he did not give up. He was not part of the problem that was starting to showcase a little bit with the bull rush from the defensive lines.
I think the biggest thing for Manu is I want to see him get into that rotation of the 8 guys that they take to game day. Like, to me, that's the next step. He did not appear in a regular season game last year. He was fine in the preseason, but to me now the next step is he's got to get in the mix. He's got to get in the mix because we all know he's got all the physical, athletic gifts in the world. He's got great size. He moves very well, but it's time to start unlocking some of that because let's face it, you get 4 years on a rookie deal. Okay, he's heading into year 2. It's time to start proving stuff. And with some of these developmental guys that the Lions have brought in some of these drafts, it just hasn't panned out. So I'm very eager to see what kind of steps he takes heading into year 2. And if he can get into that mix and that rotation, I think that would be a really good step for him.
Yeah, I liked it. To Broski Bear's point, it doesn't matter. Amon-Ra is a made man. The guy's got a great podcast. It's blowing up. He's doing great things. He knows the offense left and right. I do not feel in any way it doesn't matter. I think that life in California suits him well, and the activities that he's involved in, the projects that he's involved in, I have no concern whatsoever that Amon-Ra is not there, whether he's dealing with something or whatever the case may be. He's ready. He'll be ready. Just the nature of being competitive, he'll be out there when the time is right. So I think that at this point in time, even if Ben Johnson and Randall were still coaches, I still think he would be probably a guy that does not need to show up at organized team activities at this point in time. So yeah, what I saw was second unit, third unit had a lot of trouble, especially the third unit. Those guys were struggling a little bit, and you recognize that, look, there's going to be struggles with guys behind the starters. There's going to be difficulty when you see the likes, and you can go through the sheet and document, and you can share, Christian, off of our messages. It's tough for me to remember offhand, but I had them down who was playing second and some third units as well. We'll hint at it, but both units weren't exactly great in regards to handling the pressure. And at one point, Kyle Allen, if this was live, guys, it would have been RIP Kyle Allen. It would have been sayonara, Kyle Allen, won't see you no more. He was holding on to the ball. Hassanin would have laid into him. He would have destroyed him. He was bringing the energy. The interior of the third unit there was just pushing through, and you were getting guys flying into the middle, and it was tough. It was chaotic, but Kyle Allen took the worst of it. Hendon Hooker also was a little bit disjointed. Tried to connect deep on a couple passes, didn't work out. It just was the defensive line work was pretty good, and Ukwu and Hassanin, they made the sheets. They made the notebook there, and they were able to handle business. And I felt like a player that we'll talk about it too. Get ready, number 92 and 97. Got a chance to evaluate them after we talk about the offensive line. Stay tuned. If you have any questions about the DNs, I looked specifically 92, 97, 61. Ukwu, got a chance to talk about them, and we'll reveal just a couple minutes. But what were the offensive line units, second and third team?
Yeah, so I'm looking right here at the third team. It looks like with Kyle Allen out there. One of the individuals that we've already been asked about was out there. Looked like he was playing left tackle, Jamarco Jones. Kingsley Igwakun was out there at center. And then you had a couple of other guys that were in the mix. We talked about Sorsdahl a little bit. He spent some time out there. Michael Neese, and then the undrafted free agent Mason Miller also was part of that mix. Based on the sheets here, it looks like they were rotating maybe 6 or 7 guys in and out with that group. So, it's interesting to keep tabs on the different guys that they throw out there from the offensive line standpoint, just because it is deep. Like, they've got quite a bit of talent out there. And again, it's still OTAs, and you can't be super physical. So that's another element that we do have to keep an eye on with defenders who are exploding off the ball and offensive linemen who can only do so much from a physicality standpoint. So again, it's very encouraging though to hear about Hassanin and some of these other guys who are maybe bringing some life. So, I don't know if you want to take this question here before we get into the defensive ends, but if you do, go ahead.
Yeah. Who's starting at offensive guard? I think it's going to be real close. Right now, my favorites, until I see Mahogany at left guard and potentially Graham Glasgow at right guard. We will see how that shakes out over time, but Ratledge is right there. He will be a guy competing at training camp pretty quickly. Left guard, I think, will be Mahogany. Right guard is up in the air for competition, but the leader in the clubhouse is Graham Glasgow if he's healthy. But Ratledge will get into the rotation pretty quickly because of his size, his physicality, his propensity to be able to anchor and push and do a lot of different things. Fundamentals are going to be good. I think that they wouldn't have drafted him in the second round if they didn't feel like he could contribute right away. So that's how I saw it. And like I said, it was a little bit of a struggle for the interior of the center position was a little bit chaotic at times. Hooker and Kyle Allen, they were, and also too, the first team, they had, they got their fill. They got their money's worth. And so I think Kelvin Shepherd will be happy. Another takeaway that we talked about, the coaching staff loves to chirp. Can't reveal specifics. I'm not going to say who, but let's just say members of both the offense and defense definitely were having some conversations, and it's going to be great. If you get a chance to get out there, guys, at training camp, make sure you focus on the coaches. They're going to be talking, they're going to be chirping, and they're going to be energized. It brought energy. Like I think what another reporter said too, and I noticed it, there was a lot of energy at the practice. It was something where there was competition. There was a heightened sense of, hey, we're here to work. And if we don't make a play, we're going to hear about it. We're going to, if we don't make the play or the play doesn't run exactly the way it needed to run, the other side was like, hey, what's going on here? Get your guy in line. And it stunk too, because we were trying to see a deep connection between Goff and others, especially with Jamo. It didn't happen. And he got coached up a little bit by John Morton regarding maybe his positioning, because listen, it happens all the time in OTAs. Jamo let it rip, and he bested the safety. He was way like a stride or two, and Jared Goff didn't hit him. And it sucked, and Jamo was pissed. Jamo wanted to make that play. And so I like to see that. I like to see that energy, that when plays were not made, the athletes were definitely in the mix there talking about it. But what you guys are all here for, what I think about the defensive ends. My goodness, it was a great day for the defensive ends. It's good to see Aiden out there, guys. 97 moving around. You can see videos at Detroit Podcast. Please feel free. I think I can humbly say I am the most interactive of the beat writers. I will answer your questions, answer your DMs. I'll even try to address your hate if you don't like me with facts. You can say things about me, about the content that I decide to create, but you got to bring the facts. You got to know what you're talking about. You can't just say, here's a story you wrote without information, when the information's right there and your old cell phone maybe didn't load it, or your computer, your Commodore didn't load up properly. Remember, let the page load, read all the stories, read all the words and all the tweets that are included as well before you make your commentary. But 97 brought the noise, doing his work, fundamentals. You can see it. I think I'm one of the rare people that post videos. I'm not sure why. I have a camera. I have the ability to, I took photos. I love it. I love being a multimedia journalist out there, just snapping photos for you guys, because you guys like it, share it. I can slap, anytime you can slap your company's logo on some photos. It's great. And 97 brought it. You can see him working out at Detroit Podcast, and you can see the work that he did. He was out there, looked good. Guys, I know this bit will get old quickly, but it will be utilized. Marcus Davenport looked like he was in the best shape of his career. And I think you guys can get whatever you want out of that, but he looked good. Tipped the ball, moving well. When Kelvin Shepherd a couple weeks ago said, I asked, directly, and I think you guys know now and have pretty much established that if there's a question I want to ask, I'm not going to hesitate. I'm going to ask it. I'm going to fire off any question I want that I believe is direct and the fans want to know about. And the reason why is because I want to know about it. And I feel like I have that unique connection to kind of know what the average individual would want to know about. Look at me, humble. What the average individual would want to know about, I feel like I have a sense. And I asked, why do you trust Marcus Davenport? What on earth would let you trust him? And he said it. He's like, the only thing that's preventing Davenport from being successful is his availability. And it's a big deal. It's a huge component, but they brought it up. They didn't shy away from it. And I can respect guys like Jack Campbell, Kelvin Shepard, Dan Campbell. They don't shy away from things. They're not trying to use word salad to evade my question. They address it head on. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for that, because I'm not asking all the nice questions all the time, but they'll skirt around some things, contracts, what's being said about contracts. They kind of skirt around. But a lot of the issues, like Jack Campbell took on the Alex question right on, head on. I feel like that's so much better than trying to evade questions with word salad or PR talk. No fan likes that. I don't like that. I don't respect that. And I value those that are open and honest. There's a lot of guys. And I'll say this, by and large, a majority of the Lions are forthright, honest, will answer in a way that's not going to get them in trouble, but forthright. And I think Marcus Davenport is one of those guys. I know he takes a lot of crap, guys. I know he's a guy that you guys think in week 2 is not going to be available. But if he can stay healthy, okay, I'm going to preface that. That's a big if. If he can stay healthy, and you have to acknowledge that he might not. And you hope it's not at the worst possible times. You hope that if there's some injury situation, it's like a couple week stretch from like week 3 to 7, and he can come back for the playoffs. But if he's available, 92 and 97 can do some things. He's freakishly athletic. He can move, and he moved quickly, evaded the offensive lineman, and boom, he was out there knocking down footballs and making plays. And I do think that if he is healthy, then he can prove it to you guys that he belongs out there. So I trust in his abilities, and I trust what Kelvin Shepard said. He was an individual that said, look, it's not his ability. He's a first-round pick. It's just the fact he's always injured, which is still a big deal. Reading about Marcus Davenport and Aiden Hutchinson kind of doing their thing, does that give you a little bit of confidence? Does that move the needle for you or the audience? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Does one single podcaster talking live on a Friday at 5:30, rush hour, does that help anybody to kind of feel a little bit better that you don't have to DM me Zadarius 24 hours a day, 365? I love it. If you feel like Zadarius is the guy, type it in. Zadarius is your guy. Let me know. But Marcus, if he's healthy, I think he can do the job.
I mean, look, the whole thing with him is the availability, right? Like being able to do it for a full season would be massive. And I agree with that comment that you just pulled up there too. He did look good when he was out there. Granted, it was only for parts of 2 games, but like there's something there with him. And I think the Lions feel as though they can get it out of him and unlock the best version of Marcus Davenport. And I do think that he can be very effective in that area. But as far as right now, we're standing here. What day is it today? It's May 30th. It's still not doing it for me because you got to see it with the shoulder pads on, right? Like you got to see it with the shoulder pads on. Like what I want is for in a month from now, 2 months from now, whenever training camp starts, to see that they're doing padded practices and nobody can block Marcus Davenport. That's the biggest thing for me. That's what I want to see in terms of what would sell him to me in that aspect of me now going, okay, this is the guy that the Lions can confidently look to. Let's do it in shoulder pads and let's stay healthy. Those are the 2 biggest elements for me right now. Not necessarily moving the needle because, like I said earlier, there's not a ton that those defensive, offensive line guys can kind of do from a physical standpoint. So, for me, got to see it with the shoulder pads on. That's the biggest thing.
When the bright lights are on, stay healthy. Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully I did move the needle. Hopefully I did, but I was out there. Get another chance next week. Another chance out there. So Jamo had a quiet day. Out there showcasing the speed, flexing. Was on the receiving end, I think, of 1 or 2 receptions out there. Nothing spectacular, nothing splashy. The receiver that got a lot of attention, number 11. Number 11 was reliable, doing his thing. 87 is targeted quite a bit. The security blankets, right? It's a veteran in Khalif Raymond that knows where to be. He knows exactly where to be in the middle of the field. He understands the responsibilities at OTAs. 87 targeted quite a bit. I like that. Guys, another takeaway. Just like we said at Lions OnSI, utilize 87. Pass him the rock. And I guess it's the Sam Laporta show at OTAs because he doesn't have to block a whole heck of a lot. I like that. I like the fact that the idea is you got this freakishly athletic tight end that's hopefully healthy, can get out there and be a contributor. He was targeted quite a bit. Definitely the connections there with Jared Goff. It's real. It's there. I think it's going to carry over. John Morton understands 16 to 87, like I've said before, is money. That's going to be money. Kyle Freeman was doing a lot of the work. Yeah, there was a couple. Another takeaway I had, a couple of, and again, everything I'm saying, I'm just recapping because I know some people, want to clip things and not read the whole over 1,000-word article. But please take your time. It means a lot to me. I was on a recent interview and I said, yeah, I know I write a lot of headlines and Christian writes a lot of things and you can kind of skim it. But the A+ thing that means the most to me, to divert just a minute, is we put in the work. Christian and I are spending time here on a Friday doing this live stream. And it was my idea. I said, Christian, let's just do it now instead of tomorrow so we can enjoy some of the weekend if the weather's nice. And you guys are here supporting it and we'll continue to support it. All I ask is if you choose to comment on a story, just read the story from top to bottom. Also, too, if we make any errors, you can help point us out. You guys are part of the community. You're part of our family. And I'm a regular guy here talking to you live. And if something comes up and you go, hey, what about this? But the one thing I don't ask is, look, it's part of the job to write a creative headline. Those are coming from me, okay? And they're never Christian's ideas or Vito's. I don't want that. Put that on them. They're all from me. Put that on me. If you don't like the nature of the headlines, that's on me. Put that on me. But more importantly, other than to draw attention, I want you to read the content in the words, because I do think, by and large, the way we present it, edit it with the great work of Vito and Christian and Emmett, I do think that our words, comparatively speaking, can compare to others in the standard that we have in terms of, hey, it looks good, grammatically correct, it makes sense. Now, you may not agree with it. You probably, if I'm doing my job correctly, you will not agree with everything that I say. But read it all, and then comment, feel free. And like John Hughes said, it's because a lot of people are watching now. It's because I shoot straight. Christian shoots straight. We're not trying to have any hidden agendas. What we think is what we write. And I felt like today was more of a day for the defense. But the 7-on-7 was not as 7-on-7 guys favors the offense. If you don't know, it's a guy that snaps the ball to the quarterback. There's no center. And you have a couple receivers and guys out there. So it's a lot of route running, a lot of intermediate stuff, nothing crazy. They may take a couple deep shots, but it typically favors the offense. Well, that first go round for Goff was not good. Kirby Joseph was doing his thing. It didn't go exactly right. I think Goff went 2 of 6 or 2 of 5. It wasn't that great. The second set was a little bit better for Jared Goff, and he started to get into a little bit more rhythm. So it's interesting. I thought that those are some of the big takeaways. Anything else I missed that you want to ask about before we start getting to the main event, the things that definitely had a lot of people talking in regards to everything going on here. And with Aiden and Marcus Davenport leading the way, I know I was long-winded there, but I want to get your sense of it. If they do stay healthy, are you confident that they could do the job and actually move forward? I know you want to see it in pads, but if they do stay healthy, maybe could they be enough with the combination of Ahmed Hassanin there as a rotational piece, as well as Derek Barnes and others coming from the edge as well in rotations with Josh Pascal and Levi Onwuzurike? I do think Hutchinson Davenport could lead this defense if they stay healthy.
100%. 100%. I think if you get the best version of Marcus Davenport, and we'll see with his experience, I believe he was a 2018 draft pick, so he's logged some time and maybe doesn't have that youthful explosiveness that he did coming out. But, I mean, this dude plays with his hair on fire. He's very physical. He's good with his hands. He's strong. And I think if you can keep him healthy, there's something there. Is he going to be somebody who's going step for step with Hutchinson and getting 14, 15 sacks? Probably not. But I think he can get you in that 8 to 10 range to be a very solid complement to a Hutchinson who I predicted him the other day to get into that 15 sack range. Like, come on now. Like, that is the type of tandem. And it doesn't have to be the flashiest, like, names. You don't need 2 all-pro guys opposite each other. What you need is you need your big gun to go out there, and then you need to have somebody who can complement him at a high level to where maybe he's not getting 10, 12 sacks, but he's constantly in the backfield and he's constantly making an impact so that either Hutchinson's making the play or if Hutchinson's seeing extra attention and chips and double teams and things of that nature, now you've got somebody else who can get to the quarterback from the other side. So I do think that Davenport has that in him and can be that guy. And so the key is stay healthy. Stay healthy. Do it with the pads on. But I do think they've got something there to where that could be a better tandem than what a lot of people think. And for that reason, I feel pretty good about Davenport at this stage as long as he stays healthy.
Ennis Rakestraw was on the outside. He had his moments. They tested him. And there were times where there were opportunities he could have made to have plays, and he didn't make them. But he rebounded. There were back-to-back reps where he got tested, and he made the play. So they're testing him. They're working him on the outside. They wanted to see what he brought to the table. And so what I liked was when he got beat, he was able to rebound in a different period and able to get back. So up and down day for Rakestraw. I think you'll read that he had. I thought he impressed me. And guys, when I say people impress me, it doesn't mean that they always had great plays. It's just maybe they were resilient. Maybe they got beat on a play, but came back the next play. So my initial thoughts will always be like, who impressed me on Twitter? And then we'll go more into detail as to what we said in our stories when camp comes around or next week in our final session watching the Detroit Lions. So it's Ennis Rakestraw was impressive. Hassanin, Ukwu were impressive. They would have had sacks. Kirby Joseph around the football as always. Rakestraw did, I think, almost drop an interception. So he had it in his hand and just wasn't able to make the play. But hey, it's a young rookie out there. Got our first look at DJ Reed. Looks good out there. Did not give up too many plays and looked like he fit in comfortably on the outside. Rakestraw was out there in the second team a little bit in the nickel and was out there as well in some team periods. Does the job. Avante Maddox, I like what he brings to the table. Now, he did kind of, I want to let you kind of know, and Christian, I think you can role play here and kind of imagine in the chat as well. If a big, tall tight end, possibly wearing number 87, is running by you at full speed and you're a safety trying to adapt to that, what might you do to try and slow down that safety? Well, I think Maddox was a little bit handsy, and I saw a rep where he got a nice little chunk of a nice chunk of 87's jersey and tried to slow him down. I don't recall. I think it was an incompletion or one of those deals where it didn't go the offense's way, but it was because it would have been it would have been all NFL flags, all 5 holdings. Avante got a nice little grab there, but he's competitive. I like him in the mix too. And we did a profile this morning. You can read about where it's at right now. He's in the mix as well behind Branch and behind Kirby Joseph. Maddox is in the mix, and then Dan Jackson as well. So maybe there's only one spot left for the others to compete, but Maddox stood out. I think he's competitive, feisty, veteran, savvy, but oh yeah, he got literally from like, to me, the distance from me to you on this screen, I got to see a nice grab. I was like, that's slick, that's smart. But I didn't see 87 respond in the way that I would. That was going on. So it's interesting to see what's going on there. And I was impressed. Like I said, I was impressed with the energy of the practice. I liked what I saw from a lot of guys. Like I said, Grant Stewart, Rakestraw, Hassanin, Ukwu were guys out there that made their case to be out there. And like I said, the offense was just like ho-hum. It was a lot of intermediate stuff. First look at number 1, number 0 out there. So those are the kind of the big things that I hope you guys can respect, as well as you can go back and listen and recap and combine it with the article that we had. You get a sense of the offensive line rotations and things like that. But they're trying different guys at different spots. Manu was out there, a lot of guys out there. And for Pat, Dan Campbell indicated that there were, nothing significant with a lot of the guys. We brought up earlier, Jack Campbell had a hip procedure that he's coming back from. He talked to the media, so he should be okay. Tesla, we don't know if he was injured this week, but Dan Campbell said it's an abundance of caution for rookies that have played a lot and had done a lot of things this week. So it looks like Tesla did not maybe participate in OTAs this week, but we'll find out next week if he's an active participant. That was one of the things. And then for the main event, this was the thing that caught everybody's attention all over Google, all over everybody. One of the first articles that people were writing. Dan Campbell laid it on thick. Yeah. JMO. He was like, the biggest observation with our last 10 minutes or so, and we'll probably give it a lot of time, and we'll give some time for questions as well. Thank you so humbly for the 200 people that stayed, that grew and stayed with us. Thank you so much. It's Friday, and maybe we'll do it again more. Look, maybe the first time we went live, it crashed. But I think the internet gods like my tan. They like what Christian's been spitting today. So I like to do this live. I think that's more conducive with my energy. But I love the producing aspect too, where we produce it and throw it up there. But a lot of different ways before we talk about the main event. The guy, number 1. The guy that's partying probably right now. I didn't get my invite. Hey, I didn't get my invite. What the hell, J-Mo? We'll talk about that too. We'll have some entertainment fun too. Would Doc hang with J-Mo? Could J-Mo hang with Doc? We'll talk about it. We'll see what kind of party J-Mo could have, because I think I'm in line with what he could be doing. I don't know if I could hang at this hour. It's all the work that we got to do to bring you the coverage and to produce these podcasts, but we'll see. Maybe I'll slip in there in the next couple of weeks. J-Mo, invite the Doc. You have a good time. No cameras. Promise. No reporting. Everything off the record. Off the record party with J-Mo. Yeah, I think it's great. And see, now I lost my train of thought. Was I going to say something beforehand?
Well, you were just going to explain how he looked today and what Dan Campbell said about him.
Yes, J-Mo. Yeah, the party definitely got me distracted because he definitely had an alarm. I don't even think I can properly read what was said on Instagram, but I think I understood what he was saying. But J-Mo today got the praise and he got the attention because first and foremost, he does look stronger. He appears to be much stronger as a wide receiver, which is great. And first and foremost, that can help him in so many ways. Route running, in and out of the breaks, physical, being able to beat press man coverage, being able to blow past the defensive backs. It's one of those deals where he's going to be great. It's just I was talking to another reporter. I said, if that guy right there, number one, as he was walking off, if that guy shines, Lions offense is unstoppable. Look at it. Think about it. And you can allow yourself to get hyped up. Amon-Ra St. Brown, an emerging Jameson Williams who's hungry, hopefully survives this party. No cameras, no incidents. If he can be able to stay healthy, I could see easily 1,200 yards, 100 receptions, 10 touchdowns, a lot of deep plays, maybe 15 or more deep plays over 20 yards. Jameson Williams is going to draw attention. He wants to be great. Now, the issue is he wants to be great on the field, and he's starting to look like he's going to be legendary off the field. So let's start with that first, because we'll talk about it. It's light here. Let me roll through some of these comments. I appreciate it. Yeah, no problem at all, Pat. We'll highlight everybody. I think the one thing you guys will know is the Lone Wolves podcast. We're a podcast of the people. We are no better than you guys. We are fans. We're reporters. We're just lucky to be able to be out there and be able to entertain and have some fun and be able to do it our own way, which is great. And luckily people are noticing and we're having some fun with it. And they're hating on us too. That means you're definitely getting noticed when you get a couple of haters going, hey, what are you guys doing? Simple question, Kerry. It's going to be Tate Ratledge. I think he'll contribute fastest. Tylik Williams as well. Those two, the top picks, and Tesla, I think, at the end of the year. And then look out for Hassanin. He'll get in the mix by the end of the year and compete at a high level. The guy's hungry. And stay tuned. I talked to Hassanin for 5 minutes, and credit to the doc. I made a contact. I think that Hassanin is a guy that you may be hearing more of at Lions OnSI. So he's Middle Eastern. I'm Middle Eastern. He's like, oh, really? Yes, I'm Middle Eastern. We know how to party. If you guys have any Middle Eastern friends, we know how to party. But I'm 46 years old. That's why I bring Christian the youth of the energy to keep me young out there. But first and foremost, J-Mo, I'm offended. Listen, I've heard stories of NFL senior reporters partying with athletes. I saw the Brett Favre video where I think Peter King was invited to a lot of things. I can enter into that phase where it's clear. Don't report this. Don't say that, but hang out with us. I would have no problem with that. I'd keep my mouth shut. The problem is I think they recognize that once they started drinking too much, then they realized Doc's going to go live on the internet and just start talking. He'll throw some bourbons down and he'll just drink and go on the air and just say whatever. He has nothing to lose. He does not care. He just says whatever typically my thesis was, and I think Christian's like, I can't believe this guy's talking this fast at this time of the day and has a conscious thought. My thesis was, for those that are new live, if I think it, I say it, and whatever happens, happens. If someone likes it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. They can think I'm an idiot. They can think, but they know that this is a guy spitting it from his brain. And that's the thesis. That was the thesis 15 years ago. What if a guy just said what he thought on Twitter? Didn't care really to filter himself. What would happen? Well, great stuff happened. Thank God. I haven't been booted yet. I haven't been thrown out, even though I probably deserve to be on like 15 different occasions. But J-Mo, before we get to the praise and the football stuff, You okay with what he posted online? I don't, and it's old take. I'm conservative. By rule, I'm typically would consider me more older now, conservative. I go home, hang out with my family. I ain't in the clubs anymore. But if I was 22, 23, 24 with over $15 million in the bank, I would be going out and partying too, but I would not be inviting people on DMs to the party. Are you crazy? Listen, I saw that, and the first thought I said is, okay, he's excited. It's Friday, 5:00 everywhere. Everybody drink up, toast while you're watching. I would not do that. I would not invite that. That's a problem. That's a money grab. Listen, and I'm talking about all the dangers of the world. And I know all the dangers of the world being a psychologist because I hear them in my office. You're opening yourself up to allegations. You're opening yourself up to misconduct stuff. You're opening yourself up to people videoing you maybe at time when you're engaging in certain legal behaviors that you don't want maybe out there. So you got to button that up. Listen, party, have a good time. But the one thing that in the books that I read, a lot of people's books, they would always be like, life is fun. Have fun. Stop sharing it. Like, you now know the doc knows you're partying, you're driving off of work shirtless, doing your thing. I get it. You're young, you're rich, you're wild and free. I get all that. Just turn off the phone. Stop sharing it. You don't need to share that. You don't need to share, hey, I'm recruiting if you're a good. And first of all, he's discriminatory. If you ain't hot, you ain't coming to the party. So maybe that's why I'm not invited. Bald, old guys are not invited to the party, and I'm probably the wrong gender. I just look at it long-windedly. I don't think that this is something wise for JMO to do. Have a good time, party. Just keep it like I get the whole social media nature of life. I get it. But I do think the money that they pay you should preclude you from going on social media as a young person, because trouble could find you and you're opening yourself up to jokes from me, just commentary that you don't want. Look, and I'm not judging him. He's a free. He's as long as he produces on the field, but also too, there were some off the field matters. We don't need that. Like I'm more in line with, and please, I don't want anybody to view me as a hater. I always looked at it like, in order for me to be good at my job, to do a broadcast, I had to be all in. I sacrificed my practice in psychology to do this Lions job and do this podcast to the best of my ability, because if I had distractions, I don't feel like I could have raised it to the level that it is to be successful. I just feel like at football, at the highest levels of football, you got to be locked in. You just got to be laser focused, 1,000%, not 100%, not 110%. I would prefer JMO to me to be at home today watching some film of the practice, but I know it's an off day. I know it's just another OTA and he wants to have a good time, but I would not have signaled to the internet, to the gals on the internet, DM me. Who do you think's going to DM you? That's going to be, out of 10 ladies that DM them, how many of them are going to be upstanding citizens? And like I said, I've never had any gal slide into my DMs. Maybe they are. Maybe he finds his bride. But I don't know. I'm not really down for that. Am I wrong? Am I old? From your perspective, you looked at it, I think, like me, like, maybe that one slip, he maybe shouldn't have posted that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to add to what you said. I just think that, like, basically, let's just keep it off the internet. Like, I don't know. When I was growing up, one of the first things I learned about was the dangers of putting things on the internet for a variety of reasons. Like, you just don't want to have that huge digital footprint and things of that nature. Like, I don't know. I've just never really been super into social media to begin with. And then so let's keep that off the internet, the activity. Like you said, he's well within his rights to enjoy himself and good for him. But I don't think I would put something like that out there publicly, and kind of put that message out there. I don't know. That's just me, though. Again, like you said, no judgment. Like, it is what it is. But that's just not something I would necessarily do.
Yeah. So Pat asked the question again. Manu played left tackle and was pretty good. Like what I saw. Jameson Williams, outside of that, look, I think that Dan Campbell would not say, hey, I think he's going to have a huge season if he didn't see the work that JMO did. So JMO, at this point in time, with our last 5 minutes or so, is in the camp of work hard, play hard. Like, he's putting time in the gym. He got bigger, stronger, faster. Now he's got to take it over to the field and really exemplify everything that John Morton and Jared Goff want. And as long as he, stays out of trouble, I expect big things too. I got him as a breakout player among the 5-6 breakout players. Jamo's one of them. I don't have any, like, you got talent. I think he's hungry. And if he's already made what he made as a rookie, the potential for him to make money in Detroit or outside is there. He knows it. And whether he ends up staying a Lion or somewhere else, then there's opportunities. There's opportunities for him to really shine in this offense and be a figure that helps his team win. And I think that that's a great opportunity for Jameson Williams. I expect big things this year. Are we wrong to look at Jameson Williams and have that expectation for him? I just see big things, Christian. I just see over 1,000 yards, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of deep plays, and a lot of attention being drawn. Like, I could see superstar, him showing up to Monday Night Football on a fur. Like, I could see the whole shebang, the full explosion of Jamo coming out this year. The personality, the stars align, great play, great player, great personality, big time personality. You have to be a wide receiver in the National Football League. Am I wrong? Am I missing anything in terms of our prediction for Jamo?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm with you. I think that because he's put the time in the offseason, and this isn't the first coach we've heard talking about Jameson Williams now. Like, John Morton said essentially the same thing, that it's going to be a breakout season. Scotty Montgomery, the new receivers coach, he's already impressed with the work that Jamo's put in. And now Dan Campbell's kind of the cherry on top there with his praise of Jameson Williams. So very eager to see how it all, in fact, unfolds. I think all the talent is there. I think as long as he stays on the field and stays healthy, this is going to be a guy who, like you said, is battling for another 1,000-yard season. I do find it a little bit tricky to kind of figure out how exactly the production he's going to have, just because they have so many weapons. And everybody's inclined to have an off game here and there. But I do think that he's going to be right around that neighborhood of 1,000 again, close to double-digit touchdowns. I think we could see an uptick in receptions. He was right around, I think, 55, 56 last year. And for him to take that next step and be a guy who they can throw the ball 270 times and being consistent, like, that's the kind of thing that I would see as a huge step for him. And then yards, touchdowns, all that is just icing on the cake, because he can score every time he touches the ball.
Yeah, no, it's big things ahead. And I know there's other popular streamers out there that go by Onk, Shay. I'm Cousin John. I can hang with anybody. I can hang with Christian in the studio. I can hang with athletes. I can hang with presidents. I can hang with those that are just walking the streets. I'm a man of the people. That's what I've always been known. A man of the people who puts his own face in his own studio. It's just one of those enigmas that is out there. And you've chosen to do a podcast with me, and you've now seen that we grew from like 180 to 223 people. Like it after we're done. We gave you an hour live. It didn't crash. This is good. We're going to maybe do it a little bit more live. But at the same token, me and Christian have been dedicated to around at least 1 or 2 podcasts every day. So here's where you can find us. And you can find us directly. We will answer your comments, good or bad. Like I said, I don't need universal praise, but come with the facts. Come with why you believe what I said was wrong. You can't disrespect me. I'm successful. You can't disrespect us. You can't call me a hack. That's just not going to fly, because it makes no sense that I'm employed and working in the NFL. I'm doing everything. Everything that I do turns well. YouTube, subscribers galore, views are up. Everything is up. So you can't call me a hack. You can't call me a clickbait artist. That's all you can't do. Otherwise, you're just going to get me barking at you. But if you can debate my points, I am open-minded to change my mind, whether it be about Jamo, Goff, any opinions that I have that you don't like. And if I post about Rob Parker and you don't like it, let me know why. Maybe that was stupid to post, but it did really well, so it was a good thing to post. That's all I ask for. Read the articles, debate the points. You can't debate the reason why I do things. It's just the reason why I do things is because I have the power to do it. We can go live anytime we want, and we are committed to 1 or 2 broadcasts a week. So find us, Lions OnSI, right here at YouTube, where you're watching, maybe on Twitter, X, at Detroit Podcast. We've been on there every single day posting content for 15 years, each and every day. A lot of original content, a lot of things that are great, entertaining, that share from others. You will find it at Detroit Podcast. A lot of it's from my brain and maybe the brain of another young individual that's also helping me as I get older. But mostly the content is authorized, and everything that you see via Detroit Sports Podcast is endorsed by the John C. Macaroon and all members of the board of Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Everything that shows up online, we don't apologize for. We may be wrong, but I think the one thing that you realize is we're honest, we're open, and we're here to take the heat. That's what I've committed to do. I don't got thin skin. You may think I'm a hack. That's fine, but I'm gonna bark back. I'm not a pushover. That's the last thing you're gonna find out is I'm not a pushover. And if you challenge me enough, maybe I could desire to be as big as Shay Shay. Maybe. I don't just yet. I am enjoying podcasting. I'm enjoying writing and creating content. I don't want to, have this big, huge thing going on. But at this very, very moment, I'm enjoying and loving the fact that 225 people joined us, commented, we shared our thoughts. And if you have any comments, hit me up here on the stream at Detroit Podcast, message, engage. It's your community as well as everybody else's. And Carrie, Pat, Brian, John, who's always in there. We appreciate your loyal support. John Hughes has been following for so long. All the interviews I see him pop up. That means a lot for all the haters that are out there. And we have some, but the love and respect is so 17, 18 times more than the small haters that are out there. Broski Bear, thank you so much. The Spirit of Detroit podcast. You guys were inspirations to us in this platform as well. So Christian, thank you so much for the hour that you gave. You are crushing it. You are doing and delivering as great a work as I knew you would when we brought you on 5 years ago. And guys, let me tell you this real fast. Christian's humble. He's a true journalist, and he's willing and patient to deal with me, who's all over the place and plays hard and fast with the rules, but he's tried and true, loyal to his craft. From Central Michigan University, Chippewas. That's where he went to school. Yeah, that's where he went. He's a true journalist. I wouldn't have him here if I didn't have the tremendous amount of respect for the work that he does and putting up with me. And I was hard on Christian. I'll be honest. Vito and Christian, I don't know what's wrong with them, for them to take the stuff that I would say to them and still want to come on and talk to me and work with me and engage in this project. So I have a lot of respect for Christian. I think he realized, I think Doc respects me a lot more. He ain't doing the things he was doing 2 years ago. But I want to bring 1 or 2 podcasts a week, big guests. Christian is a staple. He will be with us until they shut the lights off and boot us. But thank you for tuning in. R65. Let's see if we can go 69 minutes, Christian. I'll go for 1 more minute here, and we'll go 69 minutes just for the sake of the project here. It's a funny number, right? 69, Tate Ratledge, the guy with the mullet, the guy that is out here doing things. So with my last 90 seconds, again, please like this stream, send it out all over the place, comment, engage. It's your community, and we'll ask and please feel free. Thank you, John, for the comment regarding the work that we put. It's not work. It's not. I mean, literally, I think we could go another 2 hours. I've been hesitant to go longer because the longer I talk, the more nonsense is going to come out of my mouth. I think I'm good contained for 30 minutes to 69 minutes. And that will kind of keep everything in line, because then just my ego will just overflow, and I'm just going to say stupid things and things that will just get me, looked at it a certain way that I don't want. I don't want that. I just want people to know that this podcast is driven, as the title calls, with the last 30 seconds. I truly believe, and I stole it from Brad Holmes. You steal from the best. The Detroit Lions Lone Wolves podcast was made because Brad Holmes said he respects those that go away from the beaten path. And I think Christian and I do that. We are not the same as anybody else. If there is no way we act like anybody else in Detroit media, I like that. I like our uniqueness. I love our control. I love that our ideas are our ideas, and we are able to do this with the respect and support of the greatest fans in Detroit. And that's from this Metro Detroit area and the West Side and all over the state of Michigan. We did 69 minutes. Christian, it was so very nice. And let's fire it up next time on the latest edition of the Detroit Lions Lone Wolves podcast. I'm the DOC, John Macaroon. He's my guy, the journalist, the hardworking Christian Boer. Peace, everyone.